Customary Satsupers for the intro and the hook. Have I hooked you enough? If you're a creative who wants to start your own membership, or maybe you've already started one and you're already feeling the burnout running it, then this video is for you. Look, most people only share the highlights of running a membership, that incredible recurring revenue and the community vibes, and maybe even I've been guilty of doing that in the past. However, in my last video, I shared with you the raw and honest story of why I went and made the mental decision of shutting down my watercolor membership that generated over $150,000 by helping almost 400 artists. And today, if I ever built one again, I would do it very, very differently. So I'm pulling back the curtain on what nobody tells you about memberships and the specific shifts that I would make to create one that is sustainable, profitable, and that supports both me and my students. Listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you is going to save you years of frustration, and it's probably going to save you from burning out just like I did when I was running my membership. In this video, you're going to learn the number one shift that I would make so that a membership never feels like a runaway train with no end in sight. A simple delivery shift that reduced overwhelm for both me and my members, the hidden trap of over delivering in a membership and how exactly to avoid it, and the launch tweaks that I would make right from the very beginning so that I am launching effectively, magnetizing, attracting the right kind of members, and also not burning out during the launch so that I have enough energy left over to show up and serve the paying members. For sure, the biggest thing that burned me out when I was running my membership is that once I started it, it was just like an infinite content treadmill that I was never allowed to get off of. And I actually spent tens of thousands of dollars. I literally paid a business coach more than $30,000 to help me figure out how to sunset my membership, because a lot of people teach you how to start memberships, but nobody teaches you exactly how to close it down. So the fix that I would do with my new membership is I would create it as a time-bound container that runs for, say, 6 months or 12 months. And listen, I know that this probably doesn't even fit in the definition of a membership, because I think a lot of people perceive it that by the very nature of it, like once you start it, it just keeps going on month and year on year. But really think about it. Why would you add a membership model in your business? Well, the biggest reason why business owners are attracted to it is because of that much coveted recurring revenue, so that you're selling once and you don't have to begin the next month thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to sell today? So that recurring payments that your people are paying month on month comes into your bank account, and it creates that level of stability in your business. Well, I can still have that with a year-long membership if I started one. But the beauty of creating it in a time-bound container is that there is a built-in pause provision, so that when that container gets over, I have a choice to make whether I'm gonna actually stop it and resume it like a couple months later or a year later or whatever, or as for example, if I'm doing a 12-month long watercolor landscapes membership, then in the last quarter I can assess and I can check if this model has worked with my energy levels, if it's worked with the season of life that I'm in and the one that I'm heading in, and I can take a call. And if I really want to continue it, I can announce it to my members saying that, wow, this has been an amazing success, you guys, and so we are going to be continuing this membership into the next year as well, and I have the time to chart out the curriculum for the whole next year, and then renew the membership of all the people who are obviously the ones who are paying month on month, but the ones who have paid for the whole year, they get a chance to renew again into the next year. So by looking at a membership as this time-bound container that you can pause or you can resume, it takes care of that never-ending aspect of a membership that really burns out a lot of creatives, while also bringing in that sweet, sweet recurring revenue in your business. And it also protects your energy and it gives structure to your members. And in case you have to shut it down, everybody knows that there is an end date to it and there won't be any sort of like tension or drama that sometimes comes with shutting down a membership. When I shared the story of why I closed down my membership with my email list, a brilliant artist who teaches kids how to draw Japanese anime and manga comics, which by the way is a brilliant idea. She asked me the question of how would I fix the endless content burnout that also comes with running a membership. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips that I gave to her as well. One thing that I would do with my new membership is I would factor in 1 or 2 gap months in a year. So these are months where you're intentionally not putting out any new content and you're actually directing your members to implement what is it that they have learned. So the whole emphasis of that month is going to be on, well, you're going to go back to the past lessons that you haven't watched, or if you have watched it and you haven't implemented it, then that's what you're going to do, and you're actually going to submit your homework or your assignment. And why I'm saying submit your homework or assignment is in every single thing that I teach, even in my past membership or in the current courses that I have, maybe it's the Indian teacher in me, but I always give artists assignments. So I teach, for example, a landscape. Maybe I'll teach how to paint this landscape, like how to paint reflections. And then I'll give them a similar reference picture that also has reflections, and their challenge is to paint it by themselves. And so what you got to remember is your members don't actually want you to keep pumping content out to them, okay? Because if your members just keep watching your classes and they don't actually implement it, then they're not going to experience that transformation. And guess what? This actually causes your members to cancel, and that recurring revenue is going to drop. A couple of things that I actually did in my previous membership that worked to create some breathing room for me is, number one, I would create daily painting challenges. Now, if you know me at all, I'm a huge fan of daily dash whatever challenges. So right now I'm doing a daily YouTube filming challenge. My whole artistic career started because I did a daily mini painting challenge, and I love these, challenge containers where people actually show up and they do the work in spite of all of their life problems that are currently standing in their way of doing the work and experiencing progress. And these were super effective. So I didn't have to create a new class. All I had to do was facilitate this challenge, and my members did the work. They just got incredible transformations, and it was just a huge win-win for all of us. The second thing that I would do also is, if I know that a really busy season is coming up, or I just know that my energy is depleting in the next coming few months, then I would bring in guest teachers, just like I did in my previous membership, which was also a massive success because I brought in a bunch of amazing international artists who are also my friends. And so my members got to learn from many different kinds of people, which I genuinely believe in, right? Because I just believe that when creatives learn from different kinds of artists, that's what actually helps them progress and find their own style. And that was the main outcome that I wanted my members to have. So implementation gap months, daily painting challenges, so like some sort of like an implementation challenge, and bringing in guest teachers, all of this creates a beautiful flow in your membership, and it also gives you some breathing space to maybe catch up on filming new lessons or just taking that much needed break that your body is badly asking you for. And most importantly, it also makes your students feel held and supported and successful, which is also critical when you're running a membership. What I did in my previous membership is I would film all of my monthly classes and I would break them down into different chapters. Then Nahush would edit them. We would upload them to Kajabi, where I used to host my membership, and then we would make it live. All of that was an incredible amount of energy from me and my team. And don't even ask me the amount of times that I forgot to press record on the painting that I was teaching. And then, well, it would be half done. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And then I have to scrap that painting and start all over again by pressing record. So just a lot of work. But then I moved from India to Canada. And after I moved to Canada, I ran my membership for 8 months. And during that time, I was still settling into my new home. I needed to buy like new desk furniture, equipment, and all this stuff. So I literally didn't have the tools or the bandwidth to, record my videos and edit it and all that sort of stuff. So what I did is in the last couple of months, I just went live on Facebook and I delivered the class live. And that's when I discovered, literally towards the end of my membership, that my members actually preferred this live format. They really enjoyed the live interaction and the community aspect of it. And those that couldn't join live, they watched the recording. And I've actually had people say that I really like hearing you talk and interact with the other people who have joined the video live previously, Trupti, because it just makes me feel like I'm right there with you. And I was like, what? All these freaking months when I've been burning out, like, making these polished, filmed, and edited videos, I could have just been going live with my people and it would have made it so much easier on my energy because I don't know about you, maybe this format doesn't suit your energy, right? So maybe this tip doesn't apply to you. But I freaking love teaching live because there's a spontaneous energy. I feed off of the energy of my people in like the most beautiful way. We have all these like funny interactions and it's just an electric session that happens. So when I do my next membership, I'm going to make sure that my monthly classes are all delivered live so that I get the chance to create with my members, which it really boils down to that, right? Like when we really think about it, it's not just about the recurring revenue or the business strategy aspect of it, but it's about community and connecting with the people who have joined our community to learn from us. Apart from that one live class per month, I would add maybe a quarterly live Q&A session or even a monthly live Q&A session if I feel like my energy allows that, then I would do that. So this has the wonderful result of deeper connection with your members. That means more retention in your membership and lighter workload for you and generally just a more sustainable rhythm for both you and your members. An early advice that I followed when I first learned to create my membership is to give 4 pieces of content each month, one for each week. And that was probably one of the worst mistakes that I made because not only was it like too much for me to create and deliver month on month, but in reality, my members were also getting overwhelmed. Because even though it was just post-pandemic and people did have a lot of time on their hands to go through multiple pieces of content, but they couldn't go through 4 pieces of content month on month on month. And so this creates a perception in the mind of the members that, oh, I'm paying whatever, $27 a month for these 4 things and I'm not even consuming 3 out of those 4 things or 2 out of those 4 things. So then they start thinking that they're not getting the most out of the investment. And guess what? This is what leads to members canceling their subscription to your membership. So a valuable lesson that I learned with this whole thing is that the less content that you have, the more value your people are going to get. So in my next dream membership, the optimal amount of content that I'm going to give is that one live class that I told you about, and that's it. So to make this fix, you decide what is the right amount of value that you want to give to your people, and just know that less is more. Because you have to remember this key mindset that your members pay for transformation, not more volume of content. The one thing that I sucked at in my last membership, and this one is totally on me and the intense internal and external life shifts I was going through, was that I did not keep in mind the seasons of life that I was in and the seasons of life that I could see I was headed in. So with my new membership, now that my life is a little bit more stable, I kind of know where I'm headed. If I have like travel or busy seasons coming up, then I would plan around that and I would batch record my classes. For example, like if I'm traveling, I can't do a live class like I would normally do in my new membership. So in this case, I would batch record my classes. You got to remember that when you're mapping out your membership curriculum for the rest of the year, you want to align it with your energy rhythms and any other plans that you've got going on in your personal life. So, again, going back to one of my previous tips, if there's a heavier season of life coming up, then I would plan either those gap months or those daily painting challenges that my assistant could probably facilitate, or bring in guest teachers. The reason why this matters is because memberships succeed when the creator is consistent but not crushed under the weight of month on month content delivery. All right, let's talk about the launch fixes that I would make, especially if it was my first 1 or 2 times of launching my membership. So, a mistake that I did in my very first launch, and you can find more details about this in my previous video where I shared how I made $10,000 in the very first launch of my membership, is like I shared in that video, I created a free lead magnet, the Thriving Artist Roadmap, and I created it in the form of an ebook, and also I created a 5-part video mini series along with that. And having both of these components and launching with both and sending out like emails, delivering both, and the daily video series, plus also tying it with the cart open launch emails, it was just too much complexity, especially for a first launch. And so the fix that I realized was I didn't really need that video series in my first launch. I could have created it 6 months later for my second launch, or maybe a year later in my third launch. The ebook itself was more than enough to give value to my people. So now when I launch my next membership, I already have the ebook. But if I was again doing it for the first time, I would create the ebook and then I would lead with that. I would launch maybe once or twice. And then I would actually build a quiz instead of a video mini series. And then I would like layer these aspects of the same Thriving Artist Roadmap and just do it like launch by launch. I would not try to create a quiz and the video series and the ebook all at the same time. The other thing that I would also do is I would keep my membership open for enrollments all year long. And I shared this in my last video when I shared why I burned my membership down in the first place, is it ate away at me when people wanted to join my membership and it used to be closed in between launches, and I would turn them away and I would deny them the resources that they badly wanted at that time when they were ready to buy. I said no. And in doing that, I feel like, in a way I let them down. And then I also left so much money on the table when I could have just been saying, yay, here's the link, come on in and join. So along with keeping my membership open and evergreen, I would also do seasonal launches because launches are really effective though in bringing in that cash flow. So I would do my launch using some sort of an art challenge. And this is my favorite launch mechanism that I use in the Artist Launch Blueprint. That video is available for free for you to watch and steal my 4-phase launch system. And so I would use art launches and these beautiful experiences to, and a discount, obviously, to create that ethical FOMO and to get all the fence sitters who have been considering my membership to actually join in. So in my new membership, I would focus on continual access to all the people who wanted to join at any time of the year, and I would combine it with seasonal intentional urgency. If you're considering a membership in your creative business, then start by sketching out your intentional breaks and seeing if a time-bound version of it actually works for you. So is it going to be a 6-month container? Is it going to be a 12-month container? Are there seasonal implementation months? Are you going to be giving 1 live class instead of giving 4? Decide this early on before you even start mapping out the curriculum, because I actually had an artist coming to me and she was really overwhelmed and she had done her founders launch for her membership, but she just wasn't doing her final launch. And when we took a look at the back end of her membership, there was just so much volume of information that she was giving her members that the number of people that she even got in her founders launch had started dropping off because she was really overwhelming them. Basically, map out how you want to deliver the content in your membership and don't just go and copy some other business owner's template. Ask yourself what's realistic for my energy and what's actually going to help my students succeed. Think about how can I simplify the information, switch up the themes, and really just make it fun for me and my members. Now, if you have a membership idea and you want a fellow creative's insights on whether or not it's going to work for you and how you can build in these intentional pauses so that you don't burn out, then feel free to chat with me. You can email me or DM me on Instagram. I've left my details below. Okay, I know I'm supposed to say this, but so far I've forgotten. So, what am I supposed to say? If you found this video useful, then please hit that like button. And if you want more raw and honest, and most importantly, practical advice on how to grow your creative business, then hit that subscribe button. I love you so much, and thank you so much for spending the time with me today.